some people say that if you don't call in the spirits, if you don't call in the ancestors, they won't come. Not because they don't want to help us, but because they need to be invited. I think that's true of the angelic world too. And when we invite the ancestors, that gives them purpose. And I'm just going to move this a little bit and see if I can adjust my view. And so I'm going to call in the ancestors in a Lakota song that was taught to me by my elders, Pablo and Andrea Lopez. And I'm going to already apologize to the ancestors if I don't sing this correctly. But I was always taught, you know, when you're learning a song, it doesn't really matter if you get the words wrong. It's all about your heart and your intention. So in our tradition, we call in the 4 directions, and because we're sun dancers, we start with the west, which is actually this. We're going to start with the west, which is the Thunder Being Nation. It's the place of endings. It's the place of turning over a new seed. So things have to end, and that's what I really think is what's happening right here in our world, is that collectively we're on the place of evolution, but evolution requires death. Then we're going to go to from the west to the north. And the north is where all the medicine is, the medicine healers, the medicine plants, the medicine energies. And so we're going to call in all the medicine we can call in. And I would encourage you to call in your own medicine. You may already know your medicine, but there might be new aspects you could call in as you hear me sing the song. And then we're going to go to the east, which is the place of new beginnings. That's where all the babies come from. Sometimes baby ideas are germinating, new medicines, new ways of thinking. This is where it all starts in the east, right? And that's all of it. That's the 4 directions. So just hang out with me as I attempt to sing this. I'm not used to singing it to a camera, but we'll do the best. Okay. Let me just kind of center myself. You know, it's so funny. Okay, all of a sudden I can't remember the words because I've got this camera right here. Let me just get with it. Okay. We are patakiaye, ne tonka shela, ae tu ayonkielo hey, chekiaye, chekiaye, ae tu ayonkielo hey. To the north. I'll let that go by. Wazia patakiaye, ne tonka shela, hae tuayonkielo hey. Chekiaye, chekiaye, hae tuayonkielo hey. To the east. We heya patakiaye, ne tonka shela, ae tuayonkielo hey. Chekiaye, chekiaye, ae tuayonkielo hey. South. Ika patakiaye, ne tonka shela, ae tuayonkielo hey. Chekiaye, chekiaye, ae tuayonkielo hey. Now I'm going to call in Creator and Mother Earth. Waka pakatakiela, ae tuayonkielo hey. Chekiaye, chekiaye, ae tuayonkielo hey. Maka waka taka patikiaye, ne tonka shela, ae tuayonkielo hey. Chekiaye, chekiaye, ae tuayonkielo hey. Hey, Matakia say. So thank you for that. Thank you for letting me do that. And I hope I modeled good mistakes for you so you can see that perfection is not required when we are celebrating and connecting to the earth creator and the divine mother, Gaia.
Thank you, Melanie.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
Can you speak some more about the directions? And you were saying the importance of calling in the ancestors, the spirits calling in Earth.
You know, there's a lot of ways to use that. So like when I started doing indigenous ceremonial work, one of my Sundance sisters, said, you should sit in the east door of the lodge. We're getting ready to go into the sweat lodge. She said, you should sit at the east door. And she said, because you're starting something new. And so you want that energy that you're calling in the east and saying, help initiate me, help ordain me. And so just know that wherever you are, you're always in one of the directions or all of them at the same time. You can call on them specifically if your life is in chaos, if things are ending and there's a lot of disruption, head to the thunder beings from the west and pray to the thunder beings. Offer them something. Like in our way, we offer just like can't see my hand here, but let's see. Try to get my hand down. I'm doing a terrible job here. Well, you can't see it, but here we go. A pinch of tobacco. We just offer a pinch of tobacco up into the sky, and that's our offering. So you can just offer something to the direction and say, I know I'm in the west, and I respect that I'm in the west, and I'm not going to deny anymore that I'm in the west. I'm in the place of death and transformation, sometimes karmic transformation. And sorry, I'm going to shut the door so you can hear better. And just, you have to surrender to whatever direction that you're in. And you might be going, no, I'm ready for new beginnings. I'm ready for this to end, so I'm going to head to the east. But if you're in the west, you got to honor the thunder beings. You have to honor the thunder beings that are with you, who are helping you take off all of what you no longer need. And so wherever you are, just call in the directions and ask them, what can you give me? What medicine are you giving me to take? How can I use this medicine? The other thing is obviously when you can, what should be most times, is to do that out in nature. I'm sure your people know this, get your feet into the dirt, get your fingers into Mother Earth, into that soil. There's a lot of I don't want to be dirty. I'm like that. I don't like to be dirty. But then, the dirt, it's not dirty. It's healing. So get outside as much as you can. Wherever your prayers are always going to be good. But the point of being outdoors is nature is actually reflecting your nature. That's why we always get that full feeling when we're taking hikes or when we're out by the water, the rivers, the beaches, and we see the beautiful mammals, and we get that beautiful feeling as nature is trying to sing us a song of beauty, truth, and love. And we need to be in commune and in communion with nature as often as we can. We're in structures way too much. I know I am, and I live in between a park and a beach, so I have no excuse. But we're in structures too much, and we can get lost here in front of our screens and our decks and deck of cards when I say decks, and our paper and our tasks and our cooking and our, trying to be productive, which is a misuse of the word actually. So, yeah. My cat wants to say hi. She's just sitting right here by me. I don't know why. I think she likes you, Dominique. I think
she's blessing us unto Gaia's goodness.
She's shy, but she really, I think she likes your energy.
I wonder if you would be willing also, Melanie, to speak to just around cultural appropriation. I know a lot of us have a longing to relate to the four directions, or to relate to Earth, and then but also to honor the traditions and where they come from, and to be respectful of different traditions.
Yeah, that's a good question. My thing is that if you come with a humble and earnest heart, and you're not trying to pretend to be, sorry, my cat keeps licking my iPad. If you're not trying to be, it's just what is, So, if you're not trying to be something, in order to elevate your own sense of identity, which is really kind of ego spurned. But, look at me. I don't look like I'm Native. I'm African American, and I probably only have, a spot. Oh, you can't see my hand. What? I'm sorry. You can't see my hand, but I only probably have a spot of Native blood. And even though I've been in this way for really most of my life now, I'm humble. It's like, I didn't grow up learning an indigenous language. I didn't grow up with elders and aunts teaching me this way. I was, just approaching my 30s when that happened. And so I'm humble about it, but this is my Native blood. Even if it is a squash, just a little bit of it, this is my way, and I honor it, but I do it humbly. The other thing is, again, about the naming, because I do name people, and sometimes I'm on the internet and I do see people, calling themselves shaman, and it's sometimes the naming, it just feels like that feels misappropriating, especially when people haven't studied with the people, and so like when I've been studying with these people for a long time, I've been in this way for a long time, and I never refer to any of this as mine. I always refer to my teachers have taught me, or, this is the way of the Lakota or the Red Road. This isn't mine. I'm just borrowing it and sharing what I know. So, if we can be humble, I think that's good. I was doing a video the other day, and I don't know, didn't get a lot of resonance with people, but whatever. I just said, I'm not a proud person. Like, I don't have pride in being African American. I don't have pride in being Native. I don't have pride in being a woman. And what I mean by that is that there's so much, at least in America, this pride around nationalism, and that's pride gone wrong. It's I'm happy to be Black. I'm happy to be Native. I'm delighted with being a woman. But there's no sense of like entitlement with that sense of acknowledging who I am. Like, I'm proud to be American. Like, somehow that puts you at a place that's somewhat, like, pride is supposed to elevate you. People say take pride in your work, and what they're really saying is care. Care about your femininity, care about your culture, take care of all cultures. And I'm not a person who is in love with one culture over another. I don't know why I just went there, but I did. So I guess I'm saying that is because when we have so much pride, even, again, this is not going to be popular, even like, oh, I have Native pride. And I understand that, particularly in a world where we've dismissed Native people. But if that's what we are, then what we do is we create division. And what we do, we say, well, we create clubs of sameness. You're Indian if you lived on the res. You're Indian if you went to boarding school. You're Indian if your uncles taught you how to hunt. You're Indian if your aunties taught you how to do this, or this, or you're not Indian enough because you grew up in the city, or you're not Black enough because you don't speak Ebonics. And then we start that division, and we only allow people who are like us, even within our own culture, to be called that. Or you're not Black enough, or you're not this enough, you're not red enough, you're not, So I say that, so there's appropriation and misappropriation. There's appropriation of taking something that's not yours and using it as though it's inherently yours. And then there's appropriation and misappropriation by culture.
Thank you for that. Just to really anchor into the intention of honoring and to know and to credit always the sources with respect, rather than trying to pretend or build ourselves up as if we've created it, or to try to make our own what is given as a gift, which doesn't belong to us. in the sense of possession, but belongs to us in the sense of a deeper place, belonging.
Belonging and shared humanity. I will tell you that our shaman, our medicine women, our medicine men, I've never heard them call themselves that. I'm a medicine man. I've heard them introduced that way by my chief, but I have never heard them call themselves that. It's like a prophet calling himself or herself a prophet. It just doesn't happen. I mean, maybe a woman might say, I'm a curandera, I am a medicine person, but it's not a label. It's more like an offering. Here's what I can bring to you, but rarely do I hear themselves talk like that. Mm-hmm. So I just say that for the Western world because we're big on having labels, and I'm a namer. I name people, so I understand the relevance of understanding your medicine, but just be humble around the naming. You don't have to deny. No one's denying. When I go see my medicine man, he does what he needs to do. So there's no denying his or her ability, not asking for that. It's just humility about how proudly we walk with our labels and where that comes from. From our dominant culture's mind, not Gaia's mind.
Can you speak more about that division between the voice of Gaia in us and the voice of dominant culture, or the voice of division, of conditioning?
Yeah. We're all brought up through the dominant mind, from cartoons to magazines to TV, and really it's the ego, right? It's the ego gone rampant. And the bottom line, and I suspect everybody who might be watching this knows this, so I'll just say the obvious, that kind of talk and instills a certain thinking that is crazy making. In that, it makes you second guess yourself. It makes you compare yourself. It makes you diminish yourself, and it keeps you in the wounding of yourself. And we've all been wounded, right? But it doesn't put you into the healing. And that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest differentiation, I would say, because in the Gaia mind, the divine mother, or whatever the word you were using, there's she is never going to shame you. She's never going to make you feel like you have to question yourself. She is never going to do anything but heal you, love you, and uplift you. She may ask you to start a route, a path in your life that is challenging, but it's only challenging to the ego. It is not challenging to your spirit. It is not challenging to your ability, meaning your willingness, not your physical ability. It might be challenging to your physical ability, but not to your willingness. And it will never, ever create doubt. Doubt is always a measure of the ego and the dominant mind. It wants you to doubt yourself, because then you'll look for some sort of support. And the most support you're going to get is what's already out here, which is the ego, the dominant mind. And if you constantly have to ask others, constantly, and I've been this person definitely in my life, and you constantly have to have somebody else validate you, you're not in your right mind. You're not aligned with the source of love.
It's such a powerful reminder that anytime we have those voices that are either trying to put us down or build us up in a way that creates separation, like what you were saying with the pride that actually can create more division. To distinguish that is a voice of conditioning. That is the voice of what we're exploring as patriarchy and colonization internalized.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
And to really remember that Gaia's voice is loving us, healing us, supporting us, speaking to us from a place of a deeper belonging. And to distinguish that message, just to see where that voice is coming from in us, what its intention is.
To distinguish it, and to the best we can to to stay tuned to it. So, you know, to really, you know, just like on the path of the mystics, you know, I would say, you know, when you're praying and you're meditating, and again, your people know this already, it's like the prayer isn't in the moment. You know, one of my Sundance sister, Michelle, that I was talking about, she's very wise. That's why I get to mention her. Michelle Justice, I love her name. But she used to say, you know, when we would Sundance, because it would sometimes be hard to come home after you've been out on the reservation in this intense ceremony for a week, you know. And, you know, it just, and then you come home and the noise and the, you know, the life. And she would say to me, the work is to bring the ceremony home, bring the ceremony to everything. And I remember, like, you know, I don't know, decades ago when she said that, and I thought, okay, that's the work, is to be in the ceremony every single day of my life. I'm not perfect. I'm not. Sometimes someone takes my parking space and I'm in a different ceremony. but I do my best to try to come back, and sometimes I don't come back. Sometimes I pop off, you know, and then you know, there's that great remorse, and that's the karma, is remorse and regret. Karma is not like some big axe waiting for your neck. It's right in the moment, wishing you hadn't done it, and, you know, seeking the person out so you can apologize if possible. But more often than not, you know, what we practice, I've said this before with you, Dominique, what we practice, we get better at. And so it's the prayer to live in that. And let the prayer to create a belief in you, you know, that what you pray for becomes what you believe, and we always behave what we believe, not just what we say or think or pray. So, you know, let the prayer become a belief and a behavior. And that's the real practice, you know. I'm not the best meditator, but I do my best in the morning. But it's, you know, that's the easy work in some senses, to sit down on the cushion. It's now you got to get up and go into the grocery store with somebody 2 feet next to you instead of 6 feet away, or, you know, or whatever it is, or when you're broke, you know, when you have no money and you're scared. And it's like, you know, it's not about pretending you're happy, but how do you live in the prayer when you're frightened, when you're angry, when you're disillusioned? You know, how do we live that prayer? What's the prayer from the east or the north or the south or the west that can carry you? What's the medicine? And you might be limping. You don't have to walk tall. You don't have to be perfect at it. Nobody's asking for that. But how can I let this prayer inside of me, and it's medicine? And that's the work. And that's hard work. That's hard work. For me anyway.
Is there a practice that really helps you to root in ceremony every day?
Yeah. So, and this is just me, you know, so, you know, we all have create what works for us, right? But I give my first 2 hours of the morning are not, I wouldn't say I'm in prayer for 2 hours, but there's nothing else to do, you know. There's nothing else to do. So I may eat with my husband because that's our time of communion. And then I sit outside when the weather allows me. I have a bench in front of a tree. I call my bench outside in front of a lemon tree. I call her mother, you know, and I think she talks to me. Of course, Mother is omnipresent, you know, she talks to us anywhere, everywhere. But for me, it's that lemon tree, and I sit there and I'm not the best meditator. And as you can see, I'm very verbal. So I just talk and then I just listen. And that's the work for me, you know, is really being able to listen. And the truth of the matter is, she's always, 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 always guiding me. Always. Like just the other day, you know, my husband filled my teacup. It was a little bit too full, and I saw it, and I heard, you should toss some of that water out. And I was like, this is like, I don't know how many times it's going to take me to get this message. And I heard that message, and I thought, it's all right. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. And I walk into the TV area, and it spilled out on my computer. My computer went dark. you know, so it's not working now. And so she's always getting little things like tea on computers, you know, to big parts of her life, right? So, and the work is to not override it, not to think for one moment, I know best.
Beautiful. I appreciate how your practice is just to feed that every day, to find that tree to sit at and to speak to and listen to. When you do your practice in front of the tree, can you speak a little bit more of what it looks like from day to day? Are there some days where you hear her voice? Are there some days where you don't? Or just what is it like from day to day?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, that's absolutely correct. There are some days I don't hear anything, but I'm out, first of all, I'm out in nature, right? And so nature is always singing us a song, her song, right? So the worm sings it to the bird sings it to the tree sings it to the clouds, and then the sun and moon job share the orchestration. And so there's this beautiful nature, you know, happening all around me, which is why I really encourage us to the best of our ability to get outside and to, you know, to hear nature, even just the birds, because there's something about even hearing the bird or seeing the tree. I call the trees, by the way, as I'm walking down the street or walking, you know, in a forest, I call them Your Majesty. Like, good morning, Your Majesty, you know, because I think every single piece of nature, even the weeds, imbue wisdom. And so they need to be honored, and to honor nature is to see and to own and honor your own nature. So even when I don't hear any direct message, which is fine, there's a message, like I said, all the time. I'm still communing with the absolute beauty and truth and love of Mother, always. And so there's no loss. The thing around prayer, meditation, and practices is that if you over-ritualize them, then your ego creates an expectation that you should get something. And then you've ritualized it. And I say the word ritualize because I know we talk about ritual, but you don't, it's kind of like repeating the words in the Bible verbatim. And it's like, so you memorize some words, but that doesn't mean you have any relationship with the divine. And so you want to watch who's expecting what, you know, and to drop the expectation and just go out into a place of Holy Communion without expecting that anything in particular is going to happen.
For Earth Day, we're being invited to create our own ceremony and in our own way, in our own pocket, in our home, outside, exactly what fits into our life and what we're called to with our voice. And I wonder if there's any words from you that comes around that, around trusting that voice, creating our own ceremony.
I think you can. I love that you're doing that, first of all. You know, the earth will speak to you, Gaia will speak to you. And I think, you know, one of the most beautiful things about this universe is that we're so wholly creative. And you don't need to emulate anybody else's ceremony. You just don't. You know, go outside. What is calling you? What is your heart or eyes fixed on? What is your soul resonating to? You know, and tell yourself, you know, ask yourself, how can I be in union with this? How can I, you know, what's this medicine? What does it want to say to me? And just let it simmer there. You know, it might take a month, it might take a year, it might take a day, it might take an instant. You don't know. And then that's when you hear it, that's the beginnings of your communion, of your ritual or your ceremony, and let your mind take it. Let your mind and your sense of wonder take it wherever it wants to take it. You know what I'm saying? So like, there's this guy, I can't remember his name, you guys might know him. He has this book called Morning Altars.
Mm.
You know him?
Yeah, Day, his name is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that. That started with the breakup of a girlfriend.
Mm.
He was just trying to find solace, for his heart. And like, I'm sure people have done mandalas and all the, what's mostly called mandalas from the earth, but, and he inspired, so many people from doing that. And we women, we're land tenders, we're farmers, so we speak to the earth, we are of the earth. So go outside and see what catches you, because whatever catches you, don't look for it. Let it look for you. Let it find you. Whatever catches you, that's what you want to pay attention to. And you don't have to, you can just, make a note, like, I don't know, the ceremony I follow when I'm out in the forest, I have, and this is not going to be unique for me, but I'm sure other people have some other kind of experiences. When I'm out in nature, I can feel energies of plants, right? I just push my hands over it. I don't touch it. But I put my hands, I can feel the different energies. I don't know what to do with that energy. I've never known. This has been 15, 20 years now. But recently, in the last 2 years, if I keep my hand just like, that far from the plant, it will start to bend toward me and move toward me as though it's saying hello. And then I'm saying hello back. Nothing happens. Like, there's no bush burning, but I feel like, oh my gosh, we're in communication. The flower, the bush, the tree is acknowledging me. And that feels holy. And maybe that's the only ceremony I need to have, is that one time when we're bowing to each other. I don't have special requirements, baby, go home and write about it and see what wants to spill on the page that has never spilled down before.
I love that.
What would you do?
I love that invitation, because it's for me also, sometimes I have an expectation that a ceremony, I have to go sit and then do something, and I'm waiting, but it can come out of that spontaneous conversation. Sometimes I'm going for a walk and I just stop out of the blue, and I look and a tree rustles or a bird looks right at me. And like you're saying, that is the ceremony. It's not something I have to make up. It's not something I have to even borrow. I can just sit into the moments that open there and enter that, outside of all of the layers and ideas we have of what it should be or shouldn't be. Or like you said, the trying to get something out of it, to ritualize it in that way.
Yeah.
So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dominique.
Thank you so much, Melanie. It's such an honor to talk with you.
You too.
Thank you for your prayers.
All right, back at you, girl.